Councilman Drake, you good? Go ahead. Councilman Smith, are you good? Are you good? Councilman Lightfoot, you good? Stevens, you good? All right. So the time is 7 p.m. and I call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Red Oak City Council to order. Let it be known that we have a quorum present and that notice has been duly posted in accordance to the Texas Government Code Section 551. All council members are present with our two council member elects going to be taking our oath of office with Councilman Goodwin. So, you know, and I'm going to be leading our invocation and our pledge, so if you would please stand with me. And you know, the crazy world right now, we just want to keep our neighbors in Duncanville in our prayers, and we're glad that something tragic didn't really happen there. Thanks to the police force for putting their lives on the line to be able to keep the citizens safe, and also with the firefighters. So if you will bow with me in your tradition, and I'll speak in mine. So Heavenly Father, wow, a lot goes on in our cities, and sometimes we just need to slow down and smell the roses, enjoy the sun, and enjoy the rain when it comes, and we just hope that comes pretty soon for us here in Red Oak. Please be with our first responders, our military. Bless their families. Help them feel the comfort of your hands, comforting each and every family member. Please be with our city, our constituents. Let them know that those who you elect in office really don't have an agenda, but look out for the greater good of the city as a whole. And we need to remember that. Just give us comfort and peace to help us make the best decisions for this city. Please be with our workers within the city. They work tirelessly to keep the city running at full steam ahead, and we just are thankful for their leadership, no matter what their position is. Because again, here within Ellis County, we have the best city around. Father, just guide our hands and our thoughts during this council meeting. Please forgive us where we fail you, and be gracious to us. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we're going to take an oath of office and present our election certificates. And so if Councilman Lightfoot and Councilman Smith will join Councilman Goodwin in front where Ms. Stevens is, and she will administer the oath of office. As they go forward, we hope and pray that these gentlemen continue to uplift our city and do the right thing. And again, we'd like to thank our two outgoing councilmen, Councilman Wilson, Councilman Raleigh, for their dedication and service, and thank you, gentlemen.
Raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of the state of Texas, and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and of this state. So help me God. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's okay.
Where do you want it?
Hey.
I know, I'm sorry. You should have known.
You'd already pulled the trigger, Sean.
That'll work.
Put them on.
I know, okay? Don't give me a hard time. Get it on the right setting.
Is that it?
Yes, you can sit down now.
All right. Gentlemen, welcome. Okay, Mr. Williams. Yep. I think you're up first, with the presentation or introduction.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like to introduce our Public Works Superintendent, new Public Works Superintendent, Kyle Sugg. Kyle comes to us with about 12 years experience in local government, public works specifically. I've had the pleasure of working with Kyle over those years, different times. It's truly a blessing to have someone of his quality and has a high expectation, but he's up to it. But I did want to welcome him aboard and introduce him to council.
Yep. Thank you. Welcome. Want to say anything?
No, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to a long journey here. I mean, I know we already have a good team. Been here a little over a month so far, and I appreciate how well put together the team already is. So it's nice to come into a place where everything's already in good shape. And I just want to build from there. And look forward to it.
Yeah.
So thank you for the opportunity.
Glad to have you. Thank you. So. Chief, glad.
Mayor, Council, good evening. I just want to take the time to introduce our new Assistant Fire Chief, Chris Young. Chris Young comes to us from the Crowley Fire Department, where he served for 22 years, worked his way up through the ranks, and served as their Deputy Chief since 2014. Chief Young holds a Master Firefighter Certification, Fire Officer 4, Incident Safety Officer, Instructor 3, Hazmat Tech, Driver Operator, Fire Inspector, and a Licensed Paramedic with the Texas Commission on Fire Protection and Texas Department of State Health Services. Chief Young also holds an Associate's degree of Fire Administration from Weatherford College. Mr. Young has been married for 20 years, and has a 14-year-old son and a 17-year-old daughter. He started with us last Monday, June 6th. He's certainly hit the ground running, meeting with crews, meeting with city staff. He's, definitely drinking out of a fire hydrant right now, trying to take it all in. But we look forward to that. We're glad to have him and look forward to what the future holds and, what he can help us strive to meet. So just want to introduce y'all, Chief Umpire.
How'd you get all that done in 30 years of age? Wow, glad to have you.
Thank you.
Chief Wolf? No, I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, it's not a problem at all, sir. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, evening, council. Welcome back, Mr. Lightfoot. Welcome, Mr. Smith. Okay, I'm here this evening because, as you know, I was recently promoted to assistant chief. Lieutenant Escabel and Lieutenant Schlatt got promoted to those lieutenant vacancies, which created a couple of sergeant vacancies. We tested late May, and we had 5 phenomenal applicants returned for it. And of that test, Sergeant Aaron Lockhart and Sergeant Andy Trim were the top 2 in that test. I'm here to introduce you to each of them. If you have a couple of minutes, just go with a little bio on or something. Okay? So, Sergeant Andy Trim worked at the Grand Prairie Police Department from June 2014 to May of 2018. He was a patrol officer, a crime scene technician, and a crisis negotiator for the Grand Prairie Police Department. After leaving Grand Prairie, he worked at the Union Pacific Railroad Police Department from May 2018 to August of 2020. He's been employed with the Railroad Police Department since August of 2020. He's married to his wife, Lena, for 8 years, and they have 2 daughters, Layla, which is 5 years old, and Lily, which is 3 years old. He holds a master's degree in criminology, criminal justice, and holds a master peace officer certificate through the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. That is Sergeant Andy Trim. Sergeant Aaron Lockhart is currently assigned to the 2nd Shift Bravo Platoon of the Railroad Police Department. He enlisted in the U.S. Army in February of 2007 and served as a foreign observer. He deployed twice in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom and once to Afghanistan in support of Operation Enduring. He is a graduate of the Army's Joint Fires Observer Course, Warriors Leaders Course, and he was the honor graduate of the Advanced Leaders Course. He graduated from the University of North Texas, Dallas, with a bachelor's degree in psychology in 2017. He graduated a salutatorian from the COG Basic Police Academy and was commissioned with the Railroad Police Department in 2018 and has served in the Patrol Division 10. Sergeant Aaron Lockhart.
Gentlemen, y'all have family here, correct?
Yes, sir.
Be proud of them. Introduce them.
My family's here. My wife, Jessica. My daughter, Ara, who's 2. My wife is also pregnant with our son. He'll be 2 in October. My father, Lauren Lockhart, and my mother, Judy Lockhart.
And I didn't, Chief, did y'all have, you have family here too? Yeah, well.
No, I believe Sergeant Trim may have some online to watch.
Yeah, excellent. Well, we're glad they're online, so.
Thank you, sir.
All right, good.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, now's the time for citizens' comments. We actually have 3 that have signed up, and I'm gonna take these in the order, that they were, filed. Mr. Goodlow, you would come to the podium, state your name and your address and what you want to speak to us about.
Yes, Dr. Goodlow, I live at 204 East Pierce Street in Red Oak. Long time resident of Red Oak. I may not be the oldest person in Red Oak, but I'm probably the oldest still lives in the same house as Barney. I never moved. I have quite a few parcels of land in Red Oak. Most all of them on Highway 342 on either side. Received a letter from the code enforcement officer, David Arnold. Kind of a farm letter about maintaining the weeds, quail inches, feet low and maintain 30-foot perimeter from the edge of road and all the neighboring properties. Phone number on here, I call Mr. Arnold. I said, I'm not sure exactly, where you're talking about. I said, several different pieces of property, 42, and he said, don't you know where your property is? I said, I know where my property is, but I don't know it by 1886222, which is the APN number, Rayford District. I said, could I come by and pick you up and take you and look at some of this property? Well, I asked him, I said, City of Red Oak owns quite a bit of property in Red Oak, and I said, I noticed they don't mow the highway. He was wanting the side of the highway mowed 30 feet back. And I said, the City of Red Oak has some property here. I'd like to come pick you up and show you this property. He said, I'm not allowed to do that. I said, well, you come pick me up, we'll go look at it. He said, I'm not allowed to do that. I said, well, you meet me at the property and we'll look at it. He said, no, I don't want to do that. So, they tell me there's a city ordinance. Right over there, got a city ordinance for years, but I'm wondering where you don't side of the highway. I don't understand it. It's most, still like a text place. That's Mr. Arnold about that. They come through sometime here. I wonder if it's true. I called that guy, talked to them, they said, well, they contracted out to a contractor. They gave me that number, and I talked to that person. They said that it would be more pretty shortly. They were waiting for the blue light to die before they voted. Years ago, I served on the city council, served on the school board, hospital board, appraisal board, so I appreciate what you've been doing, the time that you're giving. I have some pictures here of, that I took of the property that I was talking about. But also, there's a property here that Red Oak has a downtown district sign on, got weeds all around it, and it's, on easement, on a piece of property, so corner. Here's 342. The other piece of property I have that the head weeds on was on the corner of Railroad Road. And 342. It had a pretty good ditch in it, hard to mow, so I sprayed it around the field. I have a neighbor across the street, a widow lady, got a letter from David. Heard of more mortgage bank, it is too steep. I sprayed her at the same time. So, the other thing that I wanted to bring up, the spot that I have is on the corner of Pearson 342. When it comes a big rain, the water stands on it on the drain. Talking to someone with the city, they looked at it. But I have a picture here. Just go down whenever it dries up. So, I think the city and the school is gonna be in good shape financially if everybody got the same tax appraisal that I got. But one piece of property's got less than 3 acres in it, and it's been on for years, $90,000. The appraisal is $766,000. I haven't wanted to meet with the appraisal bureau. But, even if they cut it in half, it's gonna be something else.
Yeah.
So, that's about all I have, and I can leave these.
Okay.
Yeah, on there, council.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at them.
You bet. Mr. Goodlow, thank you very much. We'll have,
I've already, and Mr. Goodlow is correct, we did have property along the highway that was not mowed. And typically, TxDOT does mow that. I talked with our Parks Director, who's in charge of the mowing. They are just running late this year. Typically in May is when TxDOT comes through there, and they mow ours as well as Mr. Goodlow's. They're just late this year because the blue bonnets are late. It's unfortunate that they are, but contacted our parks people to make sure that it gets done, on ours as well.
Thank you. If you don't mind leaving the photos too? Sure. You can give them to Ms. Stevens over there? Sure. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Bobby. Tim Campbell.
Mayor,
So do you want to speak?
Steve and I are gonna speak on the same issue on the agenda item.
Okay, so
we'll just defer to that.
Okay. That's number 12 there. Okay. So now we're at a time, was there anybody else that wanted to speak in open session? Okay. Now we're at a time of, what we call consent agenda. Consent agendas are something that, agenda items that might be considered routine in nature, that we've talked about before, been introduced to us before. Any council member, city manager, or myself can pull to act on separately. And I think I'll probably give you all, the new council members, a little overview. So we're actually going to do, I think we're going to pull them all right now and talk about them, just to kind of catch you two gentlemen up, if you don't mind. So item 1, it's just minutes from the previous meeting, okay? Well, actually, we're going to, if you have a question, we'll pull them up, pull them out. Item 2 is some new release of the building order and standards from the Commission of Red Oak on something that actually happened back in
2010.
2010.
And, yeah, a building was ordered to be demoed, and they've complied now, and now we need to release property back so that it's not tied up on liens. So,
Yeah, okay. Item 3, this is an agreement. We have to put a new water storage tank on Methodist Street, and it's contracting with Kimley Horn to do the plans and get that ball rolling.
Including the booster pumps.
Yeah.
And Kimley Horn is one of our contract engineers that we use on several. We actually use them on our long-term CIP plans. So that's who we're trying to use this to.
Item 4 was the new phone system over at the, you want to speak on that real quick?
Mayor, Council, this is just gonna be, it's a resolution to use, right now we're using Agility for our value phone system. It's all in-house wired. Our switches need to be replaced. We're gonna have to move to a new site, different things happening. So we're gonna move to a cloud-based, still gonna be in a value system, still provided by Agility. It'll just be cloud-based system instead of on-premise system.
Good. And there's a cost savings.
There is a cost savings overall for all the phone lines we won't need for the alarms and for fax machines and all that. We're gonna go to cloud-based fax system as well. Cloud-based means the phones, instead of connecting through the network here to a phone switch on site, they'll connect through the internet out to a phone switch in the cloud.
It'll connect back to something like a Google data center.
Correct.
As opposed to something in the building.
Right. It also makes moves much easier, so if you're changing offices, you take your phone, plug it back in anywhere on the campus, and it'll connect right back up.
And this also kind of goes to our new facility over there, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And item 5 was the reason why we continued to do our resolution for the state of emergency for COVID-19 is it allows us to continue to get, grant money or funding that might be trickling down. If we did away with that, we couldn't claim for that grant money. So, that's one of the
But
reasons.
there's no restrictions,
Right,
due to COVID. We're just making sure that if there are grants out there, that we do still have the emergency orders in place as long as it's like,
right.
but no
Okay.
actual impact on it.
Any questions on that? All right. So now I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as discussed.
So moved.
All right, Councilman Franklin.
Second.
Councilman Gray. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Gray, aye.
Lightfoot, aye. And aye.
All right, that passes 5-0. At this time, we are going to go into executive session, closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.071, 551.087, 551.072. When we come back in, we will continue with our meeting, items 6 through 18? Yeah, 18. And the time is 7:26. We don't anticipate being in there long, but it's something that we have to take care of before we continue with our meeting.
Mayor, for the record, if you would those be as posted in items 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, or are they during posted agenda items?
It would be for all the above.
All of us.
Thank you.
All right.
Hi, are you able to hear me? Hello? Do you know how long they're going to be gone? Do you know how long they're going to be gone?
Hi, are you there?
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I couldn't hear earlier when they dismissed what was happening. And
Oh, okay.
are they coming
moved
back to
into
do the
executive
rest of the meeting?
Yes, sir, they are. They moved into executive session early, so when they come, they will come back out and take action on the rest of the agenda. Yes, sir.
Okay, do you know where we stand? I'm for the Red Oak, Ovelia Road, Speedy, Automotive Center, that where we are on the
Yes,
agenda?
yes, you're item number 17 of 18 items. So you are
Okay.
towards the bottom. Yeah.
All right, very good. I just wanted to know kind of where we were. Thank you.
Absolutely. You're welcome, sir.
unmute me when I talk.
There you are.
So the time is 8:30, and we will reconvene back into open session. We're gonna go with regular session items and then do our, closed session items, actions that are gonna be as a result of closed session. So, item 6, is consider mayor's recommendation for the annual appointment of Mayor Pro Tem. And, council, I would, like for you to consider, the appointment, I don't know what it is, Councilman, William Drake as Mayor Pro Tem. Anyway, is that a motion or not? What is that? I entertain that motion?
You would ask for a motion
Yeah.
to appoint.
Okay. All right, so I'll entertain that motion.
Everybody ask Mr. Drake.
It doesn't matter. Thank you, Councilman Franklin, Councilman Goodwin. Second. I think we can outvote him if he says no, so, those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Good night.
Drake, aye.
Lightfoot, aye.
Yes, aye.
All right, so that passes 5-0. Mayor Pro Tem.
Take one of order.
Please.
Councilman Drake, vote on.
Yeah,
He can.
Okay.
Doesn't have to, but he can.
Yes, okay, so 5-0. Thank you, sir. Item 7, consider adoption of resolution number 22-041R, the City Council, City of Red Oak, Texas, approving the terms and conditions of a contract with Intermountain Slurry Seal Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $231,000 for the resurfacing of various sections of pavement located in Red Oak, Texas, utilizing the City of North Richland Hills contract number 20-019, competitively bid by the City of North Richland Hills, which is attached hereto and incorporated herein as Exhibit D, providing a repealing clause, providing a severability clause, and providing an effective date. Mr. Williams.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This agenda item is for a pavement preservation technique. It's a microsurfacing technique. So, just wanted to kind of cover that. There's always questions about conditions of roadways and things, but so this technique addresses conditions that aren't rated as necessarily a bad condition of the road. It's a preservation so that it doesn't turn into a bad situation, so that coming to council a couple of years from now, instead of spending $30,000 now for preservation, we're spending $409,000 like we did on Stayback Road for complete reconstruction. So it's part of a pavement management program. So, it's just like we did Stayback last year, and that's complete reconstruction of the roads, resurfacing. 5 years from now, so, for example, we'll be coming to council for a preservation, the same preservation technology and technique to microsurface that part of Stayback to protect it. So it's extending the life out. So 5 to 7 years of extension, and then another 5 to 7 years of extension, and just different techniques so that you're not, we're just not reconstructing the road or even having to mill and overlay something. So we push it out 20 years, kind of keep it as but it's all in maintenance.
You use this as patches, too, don't you?
It can be used as patching, but it's better served where we actually repatch the road. So that's part of what we'll be doing in front of, pending council's approval. So for the streets that are outlined for this particular project, in front of that, for the next 3 months, our staff, our street maintenance guys will be out there literally every day, just patching stuff, because it has to have a lot of areas where it's potholes, or it has been patched. They'll have to cut that out, rebuild the subgrade, and put hot mix back in, and make sure everything's level, ready for this technique, microsurface to come in. We'll also do crack sealing in advance of of this technique. So there's a lot of things that we do in-house in advance of this, but in the long run, it's, you know, at least 70% savings versus let the road deteriorate to the point where now we're reconstructing it. And so this is part of our endeavors for creating a maintenance plan so that every street that we actually do reconstruct, then it goes into then carries over into a maintenance plan.
So, we know that you're preparing, but what are we doing to that? So much. I know, but apparently citizens are not people, what is out this way? From a public works component, we're not necessarily addressing that, but it is something that we can work with our marketing communications side and figure out a way to, like, example, approval of this, and then I think next month we'll have reconstruction of roads. We're going to be in partnership with the county for a significant amount of roads. So those two projects, and you know, they can also go on our website as an example of what we're doing streetwise, and then they can digitally.
Yeah. So once they're approved, we'll get with Alexa, and have her put that on our website and social media and so forth. Don't want to put that on until they're approved, because you all might say, we don't want to do those roads, we want to do these roads.
Right.
But once they're approved, we can put it out there.
But at least they can see the good.
Exactly. So we'll have this group of roads, this time, and then later on, we'll have the ones over here that we talked about before, which would be the reconstruction roads. Once you approve those, we can put those on, websites and so forth as well.
And just so, those who are online, and, also Councilman Smith, so there was a study of all our road systems that were done, and so these are the ones that are ranked in quality of roads and better to save, I assume, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and some of them may not be ranked as high, but when you have the road right next to it that you're doing, and you only have a small segment of this road right next to it, budget-wise, it's easier to just go ahead and plug it in there.
Any other questions, Council?
Yeah, is this a technique we've used in roads before, or are you familiar with it?
Completely familiar with it. It's a industry standard. So, and actually, representative from Intermountain Slurry Steel that would do this project for us, Kevin Harris is here. If council has any specific questions, that just for your knowledge or want to understand more, specifics about that. So.
Can you give us an example of where we've used it in Red Oak that Councilman Lightfoot might be able to look at?
Well,
or where TxDOT has used it?
Yeah, on Ovilla 664, when Oakmont was constructed, they had to create turning lanes, because of the chip seal roadway, TxDOT wouldn't allow that to ground off, so, the existing market before it could be restriped for the turn lanes, for Oakmont, basically, in that area, so
the auxiliary lane on Ovilla Road going into Oakmont Estates.
Yeah, and it still looks great today, but.
I was just saying, it's been a few years, it's not something that we used to.
Yeah,
So, and part of the, where you said the gravel's up over the side, so we have a grader that can go level that out, some of those photos, or is that part also this bidding process? Am I thinking something wrong?
I'm not sure about, I'm not sure about, there was, I dropped,
photos.
Yeah, I think where that bridge is, at the stop sign, we're talking about, all the, stuff, all the leaves and trash.
Yeah, so are we responsible in clearing out those trees before they come in with their equipment?
Yeah, so we'll any areas that, tree canopies that would hamper the process or any, tree growth that extends a couple of feet or into the street, so we could cut all that back a couple of feet as well.
I guess we're trying to. Photos of the,
Are you talking about this one that's got the raveled edges?
yes, material accumulated along the edges of the street prevents proper surface, drainage, needs to be bladed off before this. You know, we do that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we'll have to, it's trying to take steps forward, but right now, all we can do is, we have to do this in-house, so, but we will have to do it. And
Yeah, there's make-ready work.
That's part of what we're doing, getting make-ready for this process. That could be part of what, and then he does the make-ready. In this case, yes, I mean, just because we think we can get it done in the next 3 months, based on the amount of quantity. I mean, in the future, we might have to also have support where we have a contractor come in that works in conjunction with what we can do to support. This depends on how much we're going to do, but what we're doing this year or proposing, we can do this.
All right, any other questions, council? No questions. Okay, entertain the motion to approve item, and adopt resolution number 22-041R. Okay.
Second.
Oh, okay, good one. And who was over here? I'm sorry. So I get your voice, Lightfoot.
I tried to beat him, but they didn't get in there, but.
All right, those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye.
Lightfoot, aye. Smith, aye.
Great, thank you. Now I can hear the tones, the depth of the
Thank you, Captain.
Okay, but,
Thank you.
all right, item 8, consider adoption of resolution 22-042R, the city council, city of Red Oak, Texas, accepting a petition for voluntary annexation and authorizing the setting of a date, time, and place for a public hearing on the contemplated annexation described in Exhibit A and depicted in Exhibit B, attached hereto and made part hereof for all purposes, annexation area by the city of Red Oak, Texas, authorizing and directing city staff to publish notice of such hearing with the institution of annexation proceeding by adoption of the annexation ordinance to occur at a regular city council session and to prepare a service plan for the annexation area, said annexation area being more particularly described in Exhibit A and depicted in Exhibit B, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, and this is a voluntary annexation, for a developer wanting to come into the city to develop their property. And it's there where the cursor is, on Emma's screen, 71.8 acres. So tonight, we're just setting a schedule and the resolution to move forward with that. We'll come back at a later meeting to actually hold the public hearing and approve the annexation itself.
Where is that?
That is just west of,
North
Arabella, or east and west of Arabella. East and north of Arabella.
East of,
Yeah.
north of East Ridge.
Yeah, behind East Ridge Church.
Okay. Entertain that motion to adopt resolution 22-042R. Councilman Gray.
Second.
Councilman Lightfoot. All right, questions? You need answers? All right, those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye.
Lightfoot, aye. Smith, aye.
All right, that passes 5-0. Item 9, conduct a public hearing regarding voluntary annexation of real property generally described as being 46.72 acres, more or less, out of the DJ Wampler survey, abstract number 1146, City of Red Oak, ETJ, Ellis County, Texas, parcel number 192369. Dr. Emma, are you doing that one?
And this is actually 9 and 10 are both covering this one, I believe.
Okay,
Mayor, if you want, you can do those.
okay. Do I need to read? Yep.
No, just approval of the ordinance annexing the property. So, public hearing just open.
Okay.
So we've got to conduct public hearing, then close public hearing.
Okay.
But then we can approve 9 and 10.
Okay. So, this is a public hearing, so I guess refresh my mind on where this is.
And again, this is kind of opposite side of the road and just east, next to the board circle.
Yep.
And across from the new subdivision across there.
Crystal Lake.
Right across from Crystal Lake.
Okay, so this is,
voluntary.
okay, so this is a public hearing, will open at 8:46. Is there anyone present or online to speak on this? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close this public hearing at 8:47. Franklin, second by Goodwin. Those in favor? Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Frank, aye. Okay. All right, now I'm gonna read this. Consider approval of ordinance number 22-019, City Council, City of Red Oak, Texas, providing for the voluntary annexation of territory generally described as being 46.72 acres, more or less, out of the DJ Wampler survey, abstract 1146, the city, in the city of Red Oak, ETJ, Ellis County, Texas, as described in Exhibit A, which is attached hereto and incorporated herein for all purposes to the city of Red Oak, Texas, and extending the boundaries of the city, the boundary limits of the city, so as to include said property within the city limits, and granting to all inhabitants and owners of the said property all the rights and privileges of other citizens, and binding all inhabitants by all the ordinances, acts, resolutions, and regulations of said city, providing for a service plan, providing which is attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference, providing a severability clause, and providing an effective date. So, any questions, council? Yes. I'll entertain that motion to approve ordinance 22-019. All right, Councilman Goodwin. Second one to Councilman Smith. Those in favor? Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Frank, aye.
Left aye. Left aye.
That's 5-0. Item 11, consider adoption of resolution 22-043R, the city of Red Oak, Texas, pending the June 17th of 2022 effective date of Encore Delivery Company requested rate change to permit the city time to study the request and to establish reasonable rates, approving cooperation with the steering committee of the cities served by Encore to hire legal and consulting services and to negotiate with the company and direct any necessary litigation and appeals, finding that the meeting at which this resolution is passed is open to the public as required by law, requiring notice of this resolution to the company and legal counsel for the steering committee. Council, basically, we don't want them to hike the rates of the citizens, and so we're buying this time to go back to legal to negotiate a lower rate for our citizens.
That's pretty much it. So they will propose a rate for PUC. We have the option to suspend that effective date, which is what we're recommending that we do tonight. Then with our steering committee, with 180 or something other cities that utilize Encore, come back negotiate a rate lower than what they're looking at, so. Lower than their rate proposed.
So again, this is adopt this resolution that suspends their effective on-tour company request rate. So
Correct.
I'll entertain that motion to do that.
So moved.
All right, Councilman Franklin. Councilman Drake. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye. Drake, aye.
But
Smith, aye.
That's 5-0. Item 12, discussion regarding the current fee amendments, if any, related to the Red Oak sports fields and sports complex.
There's some folks that want to speak publicly on this.
All right, well, why don't you tell us first what you're thinking about first,
Okay.
and then we'll let them speak.
Good evening, council, mayor. I'd like to talk about 4 different items, that are similar in nature related to our fee structure for the city. I'm asking that we consider modifying the fee structure for for our tournaments, which would include the elimination of the facility attendance fee and the light fee, combining, the fees together, and allowing the tournaments to charge a gate fee. And this has become a standard and customary thing amongst tournaments. I feel like our goal with this tournament is not necessarily to make money on our end. I mean, we're going to charge a fair rate. We're going to recoup what we can. But yet, the benefit to the citizens is actually the economic impact of these people that come for these tournaments, spend their money in Red Oak, spend their time here. And one of the problems that we're having, I feel, is that we're priced out of the market right now. We have a new facility. We've got it's awesome. I can't say enough good things about the facilities that we have, but I feel like with the way the tournaments work, the way that we have to have these people, the coaches essentially have got to be the ones that make that decision for their teams to come here, and they base that on what they see on a tournament on a screen. Literally, they'll look at all these tournaments that are up there, whatever's cheapest for them, whatever they can save in their coaching budget, that goes in their pocket, so they're going to try to find the cheapest tournament. If we have elevated fees that are not in favor of those coaches, we're not going to be able to lure these tournaments into the city. And I feel like that the economic benefit to the city is greater, much greater, if by having those people here, even if we're not making as much money internally on the charge of the fees, because what we're getting the benefit is the impact throughout the entire community when these folks come here and they buy our gas, they eat at our restaurants, they stay in our hotels, and they do things that most folks do when they come to these tournaments. And as we get the bigger tournaments, the further away people will be coming from, and they'll certainly be staying and eating more in our hotels and restaurants. So I feel like it's important that we restructure this in order to favor the city with a fee structure that's going to draw more people in, essentially. And some of these I'm throwing out there and may not be the right answer. I'll tell you right now that charging a gate fee, is something I've kind of walked the line on a little bit, but I understand from the other end that the gate fee lowers the coaching fee, which in turn attracts more people to come into the parks. So we sign them up through that way. And I'm recommending in here that we take a 20% of that fee, but after consulting with legal today, it's one of those situations where we might not want to do that. We might just say that's more trouble than it's worth because of the fact that how are we going to keep up with that? And plus, it's gonna add more and more fees. They're going to charge a higher fee to those people getting to recoup that. So it's just sort of like we're starting to chase our tail with that. So that's one that I would like to discuss and possibly send that, not ask for the 20% fee from the folks. The next step would be to reduce the single game field rental rate. Right now, we're at $200. That's fairly high, and we'd like to reduce that to $125 for a single game, which puts us in line with other cities and not necessarily putting us at the highest level. Right now, we are the highest level for a single game, and this would allow more single game action from other high schools, playoff games and such as that's a reasonable fee for them to pay to come like for the softball teams to come play their high school playoff games here. That's a reasonable fee at $125. At $200, unless the weather's bad, they're probably not going to consider us. We would end up being a backup in that case. So by reducing that single game down to $125, that would be an excellent lure for us to be able to, like I say, be in the marketplace and then have some more of these individual games come in. And then the final item was we have a licensing agreement with Red Oak Baseball and Softball, Red Oak Youth Football, and Red Oak Soccer Association. I spoke with all three of the presidents. The Red Oak Youth Football Association competes in a league called the Northwest Texas Youth Football Association. Those teams all charge fees to get into the facilities and where they're at. Our league is the only league that does not charge a gate fee. And the league sets a maximum on the gate fee. And they're not, they said, I just asked them, said, throw me a proposal, what would you do if this was allowed? And they came back and said, well, we would only charge $5. We're not going to go to the max. That doesn't make sense because that's like, they're not trying to make money, but their game official cost is eating their lunch because now they have 10 teams. And more likely they're going to have 5 games more often here or more per week. And you've got those 4 game officials out there and you're paying those guys, $75 a piece. So that's starting to roll your cost up. And one of the things that they wanted to make sure that I was expressing to the council and the mayor that we're not trying to make money. They're just trying to survive. And right now it's got a little bit tougher. They just got the bill for their uniforms, and that was up about $20 over last year per player. And the helmets are now costing them $50 more a piece. And those are recertified through a process, so they're used over multiple years. So there's no guarantee of how long those will last. Once they're out of certification, they have to rebuy. So they bought 50 helmets this year because helmets are not readily available most of the time in the fall. So a kid signs up, he wants to play football, he goes to get that helmet. Well, it's not there. You go to academy or somewhere else where they don't have them. So they come back to the league and say, hey, we're gonna have to put they call it a rental, but they don't charge them. They just put a deposit on the equipment, and they get the deposit back at the end of the season when they return the equipment. So what I would like to do is that we ask that we consider allowing the leagues to charge a gate fee. Red Oak Soccer, like I said, and Red Oak Softball, Baseball, they do not want to charge a gate fee. They don't have a need for it. Football was the only sport that did, and I just ask that we consider allowing them to do that.
One quick question, just since we're talking about football right now, specifically. So am I right, our Red Oak Football Association, when they go to DeSoto or to Cedar Hill or wherever, our Red Oak residents are having to pay a gate fee over there?
That's correct.
But when they come over here,
It's free.
they're not getting anything.
And here's another thing I didn't speak on was the fact that the league president talked with me and he said, hey, Kyle, we don't want to charge our families. We don't want to charge our kids. So what they've done is they're going to come up, if they're allowed to do this, is come up with basically a season pass. So you paid your dues already by paying for your kids. So you and your family will get a season pass to where you don't have to pay the gate fees when you come to Red Oak. It'll be only the visiting team. And basically it's a return of the favor to the other leagues since they're charging our folks every time they go there. But our folks, we're letting those people visiting come in without charge. And that's the way that the other leagues actually make up and don't have to do any fundraisers or extra type of things in order to raise the money they need to make their season work.
So do those other home football teams have to pay at their own home stadium?
Yes, sir, they do.
So, but
Well,
ours
now
would not.
I say yes, they do.
Some do and some don't, and it depends on, it's left up to the individual league. I talked to BJ, the president, about this, and some of them will do the same as Red Oak is doing, where they'll be offered a season pass, and some of them charge. There's 10 different teams, and so I did not have time to poll every one of those in the league. It's hard to get a hold of a president of a football league on even during the week and leave a message. So I relied on BJ to help me get as much information as he could.
Mayor and council, one of the things that, or when we've discussed this in the past, when we committed the funds in the city to IDC and ROIDC to fund this project, to build these athletic facilities, that was tax money. The feeling among the council then was they didn't build that for that purpose. Done such a good job of building a world-class facility for youth out there, and you've now become attractive to the tournament. So that's one component of this that Kyle laid out for you, what the economic reality of that is, and the fact that they do bring money in the community. You want to at least entertain or chase those tournaments, bring them here, help us offset the cost with facility that's sitting there, it's not being used, yet there's no wear and tear on it, so still has to be maintained. And so the Parks Director is proposing that we chase those tournaments, because the economic benefit it brings to us, the exposure it brings to the community, and then that business model, if you will, for those tournaments kind of dictates the payment of the game. Traditionally didn't want to do that. We were chasing those tournaments, feeling that you would spend tax money to build this facility for our citizens to enjoy the park, enjoy the athletic facilities. We didn't want to see money there. However, especially with football, the financial demands almost dictate they have some way to recoup the money. So they're either going to have to charge their participants upfront money, or they've got to have the ability to raise money a different way. This is traditionally a paradigm shift. As long as it's a nonprofit corporation making the request, we can do this. You have an ordinance that says it's not use the park for profit, for a profit-making enterprise. So there was one time where the Football Association lost its nonprofit status, so that was a problem then. We believe they do have it back. I think that's correct. So we can do this as long as they're nonprofit, both for the tournament or internal, if the league chooses to do so, whether it be soccer, baseball, girls softball, or in this case.
So when somebody signs up to do these events, is part of our questionnaire that they have to show that they're a nonprofit?
Yes, sir, and the only ones we've been able to cater to so far have all been either 501c3 or 501c4. So they're all set up as nonprofits.
Okay. All right. Council, any other questions?
Yes, go ahead.
Is there a motion?
No, there's not, because we got a discussion. Right. That's why I said there is a question.
Yes, the $200, and we're proposing $125. So is that the common for everything in this area, or is it like the national average, where's the $125?
125 is, I looked at Waxahachie for a lot of our fees, because we actually have something that we can compare to with them. They have fields that are set up with artificial infields and grass outfields, and that's a fee that they also charge that rate. And it's one that the high schools, like when I speak to the coaches and the athletic directors and everything, when they call, same comment is, hey, you're a little bit higher than everybody else, I'll call you back if it's raining. That's kind of been the feedbacks I've gotten in the past.
Okay. The reason I asked that question is, considering if this is a competition deal, clearly Waxahachie has more to offer amenity-wise than we have to offer. So how do we beat to ensure we're getting them to say, no, Waxahachie, we're going to choose Red Oak for this dollar amount? Because they're the same price. Why wouldn't they go to Waxahachie for more amenity, more residents?
Yeah, we have better facilities when it comes to like the 13U for baseball and then all of softball. So if I was a softball coach and I was looking to guarantee that I would get the best chance of getting a game in, I would come to Red Oak, because there they only have artificial turf infields and they have grass outfields. You're likely to get your games in, but here you've got the best chance with that.
Okay, thanks.
And I know just personally from my son's homeschool high school baseball team, we were playing Waxahachie. If it rained this much, no game. I mean, you're done. Up here, if it's not raining, actively raining, and it has time to drain off, we can go ahead and play. So that's what he's talking about. We actually have better playable fields, even the day it rains, whereas Waxahachie may be off for a couple of days.
So can we use the program that we bought at ICSC to track those people coming in and see if they're eating at our restaurant?
We are. I've already got.
Okay. Yeah, I looked at the month of April, on the 2 weekends where we had tournaments in April, Whataburger and Chick-fil-A went off the charts. So they were really high on those days.
So how are we going to upkeep those fields? What is it in our budget that's going to keep those fields in the pristine order besides getting into IDC's money to help fund that? And are we going to have enough, if we're lowering our things down to keep it going, how are we going to make up that revenue? Or what are we going to do to keep the upgrade?
Well, what we do now is we have I've got one of the best supervisors in the country. Believe it or not, he's the best grass guy and one of the best artificial turf guys I've ever met. So Danny has a program where he's constantly maintaining those fields, sweeping, brushing, making sure that we have the right infill in the right areas. So far, we've only seen a little bit of wear on field 1 and field 5, which seem to be the 2 fields that get the most use, and those are in the base paths. And by grooming those and by the rules that we have set where we don't allow seeds, metal cleats on the fields, that kind of thing will extend the life to the maximum. There's no guarantee that the turf will last, 10, 12 years, but by continually maintaining it like that in the way that we do, will assure us that we will get the most out of the turf.
When's our next application of rubber?
Well, right now, we're not actually doing applications that way. What we'll do is, let's just say we have a tournament this weekend. On Monday, Danny will actually go out there and walk every field, find the areas at which he needs the rubber at to refill. He'll broom first, make sure everything's smooth, then he'll bring excess rubber in a bucket and work it into those areas where it needs it. And that'll hit that, because that rubber protects that turf. The more you get out of there, the flimsier that stuff gets, and that's when it begins to tear and break.
And we just did the parking.
Yeah.
That's already, we already, sure.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing the other thing back to your question, Mayor, is you're lowering the price, but you're actually increasing the revenue because you have more volume coming in to actually produce the revenue.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. We want it utilized. We want to be able to track, because then we can go to our ICSC restaurants and say, look what we've got. We got documentation to be able to show the number of people that are eating. So, all right, cool. So now, we have 2 people that want to speak on this. Mr. Campbell, if you'll step up to the mic, say your address.
Let me go first real quick.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Waylon McInally, One Remington Court, Red Oak. Council, Mayor, I have some experience with this. He touched on it, he's exactly right. We are the tippy top of the fee structure. Tried to set up a tournament multiple times where we had 20, 25 teams sign up. Literally the last day is for payments, the last hour, it goes for 24 teams. Because we were the expensive backup. They would look at the weather forecast for that weekend. We were the expensive backup. It was. And it happened multiple times. So that's where we're on the pricing structure. And it makes it,
the restaurant revenue that he just discussed, you can get 8 teams per field. That's how these tournaments work on their time schedule, 8 teams. Those big numbers were from 21 and 2014 instead of 40. So the numbers are quite large in comparison to what they could, they could be much larger than they are. If the fee structure is in line, then you will have 30 to 40 teams every weekend versus 21 teams every other month. So it's one of those deals where we have to think of, if you can get 40 teams every week, our city revenues will jump considerably in sales tax. And the city itself, if the fee is lower, but you've got 40 teams instead of 20.
Okay. So with what he was saying, does that sound reasonable?
It's very reasonable, yes. I mean, if you look, I mean, like, I coach a 14 team. Right now, I will never rent our fields because it costs it's $225 for 2 hours. Too much. True. I mean, it's just too much. I mean, you can't ask the parents every time your kid practices to pay $20. Every single time they practice.
So what is our fee going to for that type of thing?
125 flat.
Is that more?
Yeah, that's a number that works. I can tell you right now that the Soto's is 150 if you have lights on, but they also, theirs is 150, but they're never used. I mean, they're vacant all the time because even that is too much, and theirs is grass. They're very nice, and I've rented them a few times, but they're, even at that, you're telling the parents that you got 10 or so players per team, right. You're looking at $15 every time they practice. Okay. Well, that's on top of their, like, even league fees are $125, $150. If you look up, and they're getting squeezed pretty hard, and it's not because the coaches are making money, it's because it's 25.
So go back to Councilman Franklin's point, if it's just a little bit lower, do we even entice them more?
Yes, exactly. I will tell you this, the people will rent them, because you have teams that don't have a home. It's like right now, my team, our league is done.
Right.
I have nowhere to practice unless I rent a field. Well, my parents will never agree to pay $225 to practice at night. It's not gonna happen. It's just simply not gonna happen. And so
and our fee would include the lights, correct?
Correct. And yeah, the lights, at $125, you're gonna get that, those fields are gonna get you. Right now, if you walk out there tonight, empty, because nobody's gonna pay $225 for practice.
All right.
Thanks. That's my part.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Wayne. Mr. Campbell.
Yeah, Tim Campbell with CEO of Pack Sports. I'm a sanctioning body that, was part of, 64 came out lane in Coppell, Texas. So, basically our sanctioning body was the one involved with these events that we held in April, with, our tournament director, his name's, Azim, and he's the one that has the 501(c). He had COVID, he was gonna be here, so I'm getting to here in his place, so. But to kind of touch, I mean, you know, everything they're saying is 100% correct. I actually run my own tournaments as well. I run them in Euless, I ran out the Park Tech Star,
We'll say yes if you come down here.
I'm sorry. What'd you say?
I said, we'll say yes if you come down here.
Well, and here's the thing, y'all have a beautiful park, y'all really do, and I would compare it equally with the Star there in Euless. I mean, the difference is y'all's are all turf, where it's kind of like what he was saying, they just turf the infields and let the outfield grass. But they're both beautiful parks. The difference is obviously the fee structure, just like they were saying. And for me, you know, in Euless, and I don't mind sharing this, I pay $125 a team flat, doesn't matter if I have lights, doesn't matter if I have, you know, what it is, just a $125 team fee for every team that I have. And then, and we get to do the gate fee, they don't ask for a percentage of that. They run the concessions, and you know, that's kind of the deal, and we signed a long-term contract, because to be honest with you, and Kyle and I have had many conversations about this, there's a lot of snakes in this industry. And I said, look, even if you don't go with us, I've tried to help him and guide him on the ones to stay away from, because I've been doing this for about 20 years. And that's the reason why you look on and said, look, we're tired of getting, you know, not getting paid after a week in a tournament. People just kind of, you know, skate them on writing a check. And I'm probably the only one I've never skipped on a bill. So, you know, they know that, and they know they can rely on us. And actually, the parks manager said that he would write a letter of recommendation for us if needed. But the fee structure is highly important. The reason why is because that dictates what we charge as an entry fee to. So you basically take the entry fee, or you take the fee we're paying for the field. The biggest expense we have is umpires, okay? I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's a huge umpire shortage, not in just baseball, fast pitch, soccer, football, all across the board. So we're having to pay we're having to pay a lot more money in order to get them to the field to call 8 games, you know, on a Saturday. You know, I'm paying $70 as an umpire, and I've got 2 on a field. That's $140 a game. Each team gets a minimum of 3 to 4 games on a weekend. So I'm paying almost $300 just in umpire fees. Then you throw, you know, $150 for the field rental and everything, you know, on top of that. In order, you know, at the structure that's currently at, you have to put a $450 to $500 entry fee for the team. If they see that versus they drive down the road and watch the action, they go out there and play for $300. That's why they're choosing $300, because it's just priced out. So I just wanted to come here on behalf of the team and just kind of, you know, get that point across, and just let you know you got a beautiful park, and we can put it to use.
Yeah, I have a question. Just real quick, so, how does the gate cost impact what you do with this tournament, and how does that impact your decision?
So I can say what I do, and I'll be real honest with you, what I do is, I have a $315 fee, okay? Now, by doing that, I'm already negative per team on when they come play. I'm about $115 to $120 negative on every single team. So where that gate fee comes in is it makes up the negative, and then there is a little bit over that would be, you know, that you consider profit or whatever. But that's what entices those teams. Now understand, ULIS has 10 turf fields. They're not all, I can't use them every weekend. On any given weekend, I have 6 that I can use. And when they have their, what they used to call softball world, they turf those 4 fields. I get, like I had those last weekend, I got the summer weekend, so I get 10. If I have 6, I have 48 teams. If I have all 10, I have 80 teams. It fills up every single weekend. And I kind of send the numbers to Kyle, and I can provide them to y'all, but I have teams that come in from Denton, they come in from, Wichita Falls, from, you know, Abilene, from Oklahoma, Durant. They come down that far to play with us because of the facility, but they also know it's going to make, and they know that it's not going to rain out. So when you got teams you got turf, there's a huge advantage, but you can't price yourself out.
Sure. So just to summarize it, so the gate fees let you keep tournament fees lower, make sure you fill up your tournament roster, and then the gate fees allow you to cover the cost of it.
Yeah, kind of make up the difference. Correct.
And it's net, it's not profit, it's net.
I'd say
Or non-profit.
Okay. I get, yeah, I mean, the net cost, you know, for all the things that you have to pay for it.
Sure.
All right.
That's good.
Thank you.
So we're looking, what are we looking for, Mr. Kelly? What do you need from us?
You got
What I'd like to ask is that we modify the current fee structure by removing the facility attendance fee and the light fee.
Can we do each one separate so we're all on board?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about it separately that way.
Yeah.
So what we're talking about is a flat fee that doesn't have those as itemized.
Correct, is that we consider, the tournament directors consider that nickel and diming. A lot of them will get turned off by that, and we have lost a tournament or two.
Much more complex, I'm sure, for them, the fact that they're cost too.
Sure, and we can give them a steady price with a set fee instead of coming in with add-ons.
All right. So, council, any other questions?
Is it required at these tournaments?
Yes, they put a $2,500 deposit down on the,
No, like
oh, you know, but security for,
Yes.
no, we can require security if we feel like there's some sort of a red or danger or something that's going on, but we've never had any issues at any of the tournaments. They've, got the rule set so strict on that with, anyone who gets out of line is removed. Possibly, once you get a bad name, you're, as a coach particularly, you're done. You can't play anymore. The names get passed around pretty quickly, and some of these, I don't know how many issues y'all have had in the past, but we've never had an incident here at Red Oak with any of the coaches or the fans getting out of line.
Y'all good?
Next issue?
Next issue?
Next one would be to, permit the tournaments to charge a gate fee that are hosted at city facilities.
And would that include the local leagues as well?
The local league.
Is that about it?
Okay, separate item.
Okay.
And then,
So y'all good with that?
the second one is,
And we're not gonna get any proceeds from that.
no, we talked about that earlier with attorney, and it adds a lot of cloudiness, and,
That's good.
we just wanna stay away from that.
All right, so.
Yeah, I agree, I mean, I would want to get into business and kind of tack on to that.
Sure.
I'll let the league in.
Okay. Item 3 was reduce the rental rate from 200 to 125. That's your quote?
Yes, sir, 125 per game.
Gentlemen, do y'all think that that's appropriate?
It is, yeah,
I mean,
if it changes tonight, I'll rent the field next week. I mean, quite literally, I need to practice, and we have a tournament coming up next week, and so, if it changes, I would book it for probably next Thursday, but that's just what it is, I mean, I've had so many coaches approach me, and say, how much is it over there at Red Oak? And I'm like, okay, it's two and a quarter is what's gonna cost you to play with lights, and they're like, oops, what did you say? I'm like, 2 and a quarter, and they're, oh, never mind, I'll find somewhere else. And they do, they go find somewhere else.
Mr. Campbell?
Just, and that's kind of what you said, just like some of these other things that they just did tonight. Like, I have a World Series coming up in July. I've got 150 teams signed up, and it's a week-long tournament. So you're talking about seeing an economic impact. I could put divisions out here and they'd be here all week.
Questions, anybody? All right, the third item was to allow our, RO, BSA, and Youth Football and Soccer Association to allow gate fees. And right now, the only one that's probably gonna do it is football?
Correct.
But the others would have that, okay. And you have a plan to be able to get this information out?
Yes, I'm in constant contact with all the league presidents on different items.
Not just our local people, but broadcasted to, Mr. Campbell and Euless or whatever, but, you know.
Well, one thing that's out there, most people get used to, like, we might go to the tournament this weekend. And one thing that's out there that the tournament's going to make, that's a big one, that the tournament's not gonna get rained out, and if the prices are reasonable, you don't have to do anything else. But the people come because word's out.
So, and nothing too, like, I've been doing this for so long that when people go look for tournaments, they go look at my events first. You know, it's not just mine, there's other directors out there that are successful. They go look at those first and sign up for those first. And then if for some reason their division doesn't make, then they may go off to a private tournament or, you know, independent tournament at that point. But I mean, like, all my spring was completely full probably back in March.
Council, you good?
Yeah, I just want to make sure whatever, we are agreeing on benefits our home. So I just want to make sure we're clear.
So get that card out to the family members of our local.
Well, real quick though, I think we can address that tonight in terms of our policy and our fee schedule, but I think we're gonna have to come back and amend the license agreement with the association. Each association. So next month we'll have Football Association amendment to their contract, because we have a contract, separate contract with each one of them.
But that will be free and clear by the time the season starts.
Yes.
Okay.
this season.
Okay.
And to be clear, you're only talking about the visit for allowing event fees, the actual field costs or any other types of things, changing the fee structure.
Right.
That they can do gate fees.
That'll be what we have to amend.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right,
Instead of event fees.
so,
If you'll take a motion to accept the recommendations of the Park and Rec Director as read.
as read but not as written.
Read.
Okay. All right, I'll entertain that motion. Councilman Smith. Councilman Drake. Yeah, that's right. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye. Drake, aye. Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, aye.
Excellent. Thank you, council.
Thank
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. And, sorry, gentlemen, we had to do it the way we did earlier, but now
We
we're.
appreciate y'all hanging around and talking to us.
Yeah.
Y'all need to do it.
This is a very good thing, because I've seen how it works, I've seen it. I've been living this life for several years now, I'm coaching my son. I've seen it too. These people will stay in town. They're captive audience for at least 6 hours at a time, and it's sometimes as much as 9. They have teams that are here on Sundays playing for the championship. They'll be here until 10 o'clock at night or, 10 in the morning. These people are eating, drinking, they're doing all those things that we want them to do here for many hours. And so it's a big deal. It really is. It's much bigger than it sounds. The tax revenue is going to be markedly increased on those weekends. You guys can track it now. You're going to see it. And especially if he does World Series down here, those people are going to be staying in hotels for 4 and 5 days at a time. It's a big deal. It really is. I mean, so I appreciate it. Thank you guys for listening to us.
Thank y'all for your time.
Thank you very much.
All right, item 13, consider adoption of resolution 22-044R, the City Council, City, Red Oak, Texas, hereby awarding a contract to SLA Concrete Works LLC for construction completion of the Red Oak Municipal Center Site Drainage Improvement Project in the amount not to exceed $612,523.51, authorizing the city manager to execute the terms and conditions of the contract after approval by the city attorney, providing a repealing clause, providing a severability clause, and providing an effective date. Mr. Williams.
Mayor and Council, that's kind of a misleading number. I mean, in the sense of 612, it's covered in the background of the memo that the city has retained the initial budgeted amount for that contract, and then the surety is contributing a payment for the other half of that. In this case, but the entirety of the contract that approval for is boils down to the additional work that is needed for $100,420. So the entirety of that creates that $612,000. So,
and as we discussed earlier, the surety company is paying for that. The others coming out of the drainage balances, and then the new contractor will have a surety bond on top of their work, so they come back into that same situation.
yeah, we're essentially restarting. The project. Obviously, there was some degree significant amount of work done, but now has to restart with the new contractor. They'll have to mobilize and pick up where previous contractor defaulted and where they stopped. So, and then as far as the additional work, I will say, just kind of explain that, when the plans for engineering was done for the site work and drainage project, the ball fields weren't complete, and but for example, the sidewalk that comes out and now needs to be tied in and completed, and then the drainage is going to have to go underneath it. That's not incorporated in the plans. There's no way for the from the engineering department to know about that needing to happen at the time. So in the end, these would be, had Raytech fulfilled their contract, we would have come to council for change orders for the very same thing that now we're adding into contract, with SLA.
Okay. Council, any questions?
No questions.
Is this the one that they were gonna do part of, another part retaining wall on that driveway?
Yes.
Yeah, with air conditioning units, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, down that,
I think the wordage said on the east side of the building, but it's on the west side of the building. As long as it's along the driveway towards the housing subdivision and not towards the park, correct?
I think it's gonna be actually where the AC units are, which is, look at it, but, it's on the west.
West side of the road.
But it's the east side of the road.
East side of the road on the west side of the building,
Right.
next to the subdivision.
Okay.
Right.
That makes, I don't know
Yeah,
why.
the east side of the road, not the east side of the building.
Yeah, it says the east side of the building, but it's on the west side of the building, on
Because
the
the
east
road's
side of
not
the
going
building.
around the west side of the building.
Huh?
Because the road's not going around the east side of the building.
Well, yeah, the
I
parking lot's
think
over there.
that's, I visualize now that we're talking about.
Okay, so I just wanna make sure that, because I think the wordage in the contract is a little bit odd.
Yes, sir, it could be, and I think I incorporated, went ahead and
With the photos.
because there's a lot of this, it's
Okay, all right.
very complicated, I just wanted the council to get a visual on that, so.
Yep, okay. So I'll entertain that motion to adopt resolution 22-044R.
So moved.
Councilman Lightfoot. Second. Councilman Franklin. Any other questions or discussion?
No question.
Vote please.
Franklin, aye.
Aye. Frank, aye.
Lightfoot, aye. Smith, aye.
That's 5-0. Consider adoption of resolution 22-045R, the City of Red Oak, City of Red Oak, Texas City, approving, I'm sorry, we need to skip item 14. We need to skip item 15.
Yes, we're skipping item 14 and 15 because IDC
Okay.
did not have a quorum to meet prior to the meeting.
Yeah.
So those will come back to us next month.
Sorry about that, gentlemen. Item 16, conduct a public hearing and consider approval of ordinance number 22-020, the City of Red Oak, Texas, amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance map of the City of Red Oak, Texas, and amend the planned development 29, PD 29, to planned development 29, revised PD 29R, set forth amended parking required for uses within said planned development for property generally located west of State Highway 342 south of the Red Oak Road and on approximately 4.03 acres in the city of Red Oak, Ellis County, Texas, described in Exhibit A, which is attached hereto and incorporated herein, providing a planned development conditions for provided in Exhibit B, and providing planned development ordinance number 29, PD 29, for reference, which is attached hereto and incorporated herein, providing a severability clause and providing an effective date, case DC 22-16, requested by Stephen Zimmerman and Dr. Emma.
I'll start out,
Okay.
Mayor, and then Emma can fill in the blanks, or answer questions that I can't answer. So this is the old Main Street Plaza, down across from the high school. And that has historically been in a different property owner's hands and has had poor management of the facility for many years. It has since been bought by a new investor who has made a request. So currently, there is a church in one of those buildings. They are asking to put in another church in the facility. And to do that, they would have to have an amendment to the PD to reduce the amount of parking that's required. I will be upfront with you and tell you that P&Z approved this, but staff recommends not approving it. This was historically built as a retail area. Once you put in, start filling this thing up with churches, now your entire economic of the city and that entire area, as well as the specific project, is going to go downhill. You're not going to be able to produce the sales tax that this thing was intentionally built to produce. We would prefer that you all deny the request for the zoning change, and look at action to rezone it in a way that makes more sense from a retail perspective, as opposed to trying to put in churches into an area that was obviously not built for church. I'm not against churches, don't get me wrong, but putting them in an entire retail area is problematic from an economic standpoint.
How many churches? Two are already there?
One's already there and another's requesting to go through this.
Second.
Right.
Okay.
Can I interject on this? Is it okay if I speak?
And then you can. This is just a staff update right now. When the public hearing, then you'll be able to speak.
Okay, thank you.
Emma, did I miss anything?
So from what Mr. Zimmerman said, church was changing their name to Second Church, so they're going for a second one in there, but there is already that church that is there, that you know is going to happen.
Right. So it's meeting there currently? The second one? The first one?
Yes, the first one.
First one's meeting there. And what's the bit about changing the name?
They're applying for a certificate of occupancy. So then now we have to look at the whole parking requirement. So they had one before, but because they're changing the ownership or name, now they have to go for a certificate of occupancy. They have a certificate of occupancy review, look at parking, look at landscaping. So parking is determining that doesn't review parking, it's not enough.
So there's just one church? It's
Yes,
changing
that has
its
to
name?
be, yes,
But it's changing its name, so it has to get a different CO?
the second, yes,
Second church or first church?
second.
I have no clue.
Right, second one has not been approved yet.
Yes.
So who is this, is this the first church that's trying to get a second CO?
It's the property.
It's total property, total parking space property.
That was triggered by the second church asking to come in?
Correct.
Correct.
I see. Did the first church go through that trying to get a CO?
Yes.
And they got a CO?
Yes.
Okay, so they're good. So we're not even going to bring up the first church.
Right.
Okay. All right. So this is a public hearing, and Mr. Zimmerman?
Yes.
So the time is 9:39, and we'll open this public hearing. And Mr. Zimmerman, who's on Zoom, was that you who spoke out earlier?
Yes, that was me. Sorry about that.
That's fine. So if you would, give us your address and tell us what you want to say about this.
Sure. Stephen Zimmerman, 6220 Campbell Road, Dallas, Texas, 75248. So this is a little more complicated. So what happened here was the prior owners, so I'm the property manager, I run this property. The owners are out of California. The prior owners gave a parking analysis that showed like 250 something parking spots. which was not the case. That is if they developed the land that's vacant next to them, which they own. So when one of the churches expanded and ate up a lot of parking, but we didn't know it was an issue because because we had so much parking. It wasn't until zoning contacted me and said the parking is actually a little bit less. But in the other church that went for a CO, they've been there for years. They just, one pastor took over than the other, so they're just trying to get their license to operate. But where y'all talk about that you don't want to sign churches and churches, I couldn't agree with you more. I am a retail shopping center owner, and I take these centers and I produce. I want retail. I want foot traffic. Churches don't do foot traffic. They don't produce foot traffic. I agree with you 100%. I'm not asking to fill this center with churches. That is not what I want to do, and that's not what I will do. But we have two churches that have been operating there for years. One of them got the CO, but unfortunately, unbeknownst to our knowledge, ate up a lot of my parking. Now, when this center was very poorly run before we took it over. But at one point, it was pretty well occupied. And with the parking that it had with these churches operating, there was never a parking issue. I'm asking to have this parking analysis or not, whatever. I'm asking it to have rezoned to leave the parking as it is, not so I can sign more churches. I want to leave the two churches that we have there. One has a CO, so they're good. But the other one, is not fair to them. They didn't know, and I didn't know. And to be honest with you, the city didn't know at the time until they went back through and counted the parking spots. I just want these two churches to have the COs. I won't sign another church. That's not my goal. That's not what I want to do. But I can't sign the way it stands right now. If I don't get this zoning passed through, I can't fill the center. I can't do anything. And I'm ready to sign a restaurant, and I'm pushing them because I can't. I'm trying to bring foot traffic to the center and turn Main Street into a destination center. And that's what I do. And I have a lot of centers that I've been successful with this. I do not put in churches. I understand the downfall of churches. They eat up your parking, and it's a Sunday only. It still does not show a active, thriving center. So I'm not asking to rezone so I can sign churches. I've already turned down 2 or 3 churches that have called me. I said, this is retail only. I want to keep the 2 we have. One is good. One, they got denied their CO because we didn't have the parking for them. And that's when the city called me and told me about it. So again, I'm not trying to fill the center with churches. I'm trying to keep the 2 we have because where they are, it's in the back. If you're familiar with the center, it's not desirable real estate. And it's hard to get tenants way in the back. That's why you have daycares, churches, workout gyms, stuff like that, where visibility is not necessarily important. And in the front is where I want to put restaurants, ice cream parlors, salons, anything that has foot traffic that brings people to Red Oak in that area, especially being across the street from the high school. So that's what do we have? We have a church there that has a CO. The other one's been there for years, but they changed pastors. And he wants his own name, and we're getting denied that. That's why I went for the zoning.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Zimmerman. Is there anybody else online?
No.
All right, I'll entertain the motion to close this public hearing at 9:44. So moved. Councilman Franklin. No, Councilman Drake. Those in favor? Franklin, aye. Aye. Drake, aye. All right, so that closes at 9:44. Okay, so, let me ask you this, Mr. Zimmerman. So if you have a restaurant that wants to be able to sign, and you have churches that are eating up all the parking, is that going to be a restaurant that's closed on weekends?
The churches, there's 2 churches. One only has service on Sunday. The other one has service on Sunday and Bible study on Wednesday, which to my knowledge, only 10 people go to. It's not, and everyone else in the center is pretty much closed. The salons are closed. The Sylvan Learning's closed. I believe the daycare is closed. So there's plenty of parking. It's not, no, to answer your question, no, I'm not, I'm looking at a restaurant there that's open 7 days a week, like a fucking restaurant would be. But I don't believe the parking. If anything, the people there will help that restaurant for lunches. I've had people approaching me we have a restaurant space next door to the church space. The church actually approached me and wanted to open up they're thinking about opening up their own cafe, running it Monday through Sunday, but having a great place for the congregants to go after church, like a breakfast place. 2 churches is not, they're not going to hurt the parking. And if anything, they'll help the lunch business on Saturday. Nothing, but they only operate really on Sunday. So it's a to me, the point would not be, it would never come into effect.
Well, so is there something in the lease that precludes them from meeting every day of the week?
No, there's not. But there's no, for either one, there is not. I can certainly put that as a contingency and add that. But Sunday's the busy day where parking gets Sunday's the day that everyone will go. There are some churches, but these churches historically have, the big one only meets on Sunday. They've never done anything else. The smaller one is much smaller, and they meet on Sunday, and they have that like 10 people go on Wednesday night. And this is in the back of the building.
What do you do, Mr. Zimmerman, about the state requirements for distance from restaurants that may want to serve beer and wine or whatnot with their meals?
This shopping center is grandfathered in to where that doesn't come into effect. We're allowed to serve. We're allowed to serve alcohol.
For state PABC.
I'm sorry?
No, it's not grandfathered. PABC, once somebody comes in to try to get that liquor license, they have to ask us, is this X number of feet away from a church, a school, or so on and so forth? And we have to tell them how far it is. And you're not necessarily grandfathered into that.
To my knowledge,
a restaurant that's already there might be grandfathered, but a new restaurant would not be. Right.
And that may be the case. The prior owners at one point have told me that, and there were restaurants in there that served alcohol, and there was churches in there as well. And they said when that building was built, that they called it a grandfather clause, that they could serve alcohol, and it didn't matter if the churches were there. It did not affect that. If that's to my knowledge, but that may not be true. I mean, the prior owners were not exactly upstanding in the sense that they were truthful to me.
I understand that.
No, I'm sorry.
I understand, and I don't doubt them telling you that, but the fact remains that new restaurants would be limited.
If that's the case, then I've got a church in there that they're on a 3-year lease. If that's the case, I have to work around it. I can get restaurants that don't serve alcohol, or breakfast places or something, but I just need to be able to sign someone at this center. The center is just my biggest spots, my biggest draws. I can't sign anyone. If the law states I can't serve alcohol, then I have to obey by the law and TABC rules. I understand that. I get that.
Well, and that's our concern too, is because it is harder for not only you as the property owner, but the city to recruit those restaurants when we have to tell them, oh, but you can't serve beer or wine. So,
well, I can promise you, I can promise you that if that is the case, and I am handcuffed to where I cannot put a restaurant in there that serves beer and wine, then I will not renew these churches.
So I don't know the names of them. Are both of them located on the very back buildings by the daycare?
On the left of the daycare, there's one, I believe it's called Integrity Church. And then there's the other one called Believers Church, but Believers expanded into the old Snap Fitness place and finished it out to have a congregation in there. At the time, I was under the impression that we could put in restaurants, we could put in bars, not bars, but what I understand is we're allowed to put in a restaurant with the church there if they have a certain percentage of food being sold. And it was to the, and I could very well be incorrect. I'm to the knowledge of what I was told by these prior owners. The history of this, these prior owners called me as a favor to a broker that I know when I was leasing the space for the prior owners. I quit because I couldn't work with them. When this was repossessed. When the building got repossessed by this huge California company, they called me and asked me to lease, manage, run, just basically take over the entire property. And they were under the exact same impression that the prior owners had told me, that we are allowed to sign a restaurant that serves beer, wine, and liquor, even with the churches there. If that's wrong, look, there's nothing I can do about that. I certainly can't do a variance against TABC. But if I'm wrong, at least allow me to sign a restaurant.
So I guess it comes down to parking spaces, and the number of parking spaces, is it based on the square footage of what's leased?
It's based on the number of churches, so it's one for every 3.
Yeah, but it's based on the square footage for a seat?
Not for the church. The church is not by square footage, it's based on seat by seat. The rest of, like a restaurant or an office or a retailer, they're based on square footage.
And is that true with the daycare? And I assume the daycare is just Monday through Friday?
Yeah, I believe so. And it's drop off only, and it's based on number of teachers and number of students.
Okay. And what else do you have that's leased there?
I've got a donut shop. I've got a Sylvan Learning Center where it's drop off, a couple kids at a time. I've got a nail salon. I got a Mr. Jim's Pizza. And the mathnasium's already closed. They're closed down. I've got a dance studio, which is also just drop off. They're in the back as well. And the 2 churches, a nail salon, a hair salon. I think that's it. I don't have a lot of tenants.
Yeah, so I guess the number of spaces that are actually, instead of the 251 spaces that were told to you, how many spaces are in that complex, and what is the requirement based on the?
156.
156, and what is the requirement based on the buildings that are, the businesses that are already established in the, what do they have to have? Do we know that number?
Yeah, but that would depend on different uses, like, they'll have.
What's established in there?
Like the ones that we have currently today, how many parking spaces are required for the ones that are in place today?
So everything's already taken up.
It's all
So
taken.
there's no parking.
Based on the calculation, everything.
Right.
That's because the church took up 90 spots. So it killed my parking.
Okay.
And that church is the one that's been there and has been in use and has been part of that. That's the big church. The newer one, they're asking for a variance to have basically no parking under this.
I think it's the other way. It's the other way. The integrity is the one that has to get the new CO.
Okay, right. The integrity is usually.
And actually, all of them, to be perfectly honest, every business in there is actually required to get a new CO because the property owner changed. So it's not just the churches that are required to get a new CO, because the property ownership changed. The entire, every business or every occupied facility in there is required to get a new CO.
Right.
Is that right? Is that right? When a property owner changes ownership, every tenant has to get a new certificate of occupancy?
The new CO that the new owner has to get, so we would.
Yeah, so you're gonna look at all of them.
That's pretty standard, to get updated.
Right.
Information and updated.
So Mr. Zimmerman,
Updated, but to actually go in and file for a new certificate of occupancy, they have to do that?
I'm out. That's not what this agenda item is about.
Okay.
It's zoning case.
Okay.
Sorry. So we've diverted, but it's to change to a planned development, correct?
It's already a planned development.
It's already a planned development.
The
He wants
request-
us to amend the parking requirement to allow 17 less spaces than normally would.
Okay,
So that's really what the zoning request.
okay.
Approve the reduction in parking, or you don't.
Yeah. So, all right, so we're done with our public hearing, and Mr. Zimmerman, in my opinion, we do not change we don't reduce the amount of parking, is what my recommendation is gonna be. It's all entertain that motion, because I think it also then handcuffs you on any other businesses that you're coming in, and we're messed up with the amount of parking until we can get that parking solved.
That, what is created, it appears to me that the churches have created goat and anaconda, a disproportionate for the uses, because now you can't use any other, church is taking up so much parking, you can't put any other tenants in, we may actually be helping them out.
Yeah, and I mean, the parking requirements are well considered in the ordinance. I don't see any reason to make an exception.
Okay.
Have lower parking.
So that's the motion, is to deny this request?
I would like motion to affirm the voting, but deny it. I'll keep up with it, Mayor. Every time we do this, I continue.
Which I think.
A motion to deny.
Yeah, so you say do a motion to approve, and then we
Okay.
vote no,
No.
we don't agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 22-020. Okay, so it was approved by Goodwin, second by, Lightfoot.
Now, if you're against,
No,
so that we're clear, if you're in favor of granting the exception or the reduction, you vote yes. If you're not in favor of reduction, you vote no.
all right, I'll entertain a vote. And we're gonna do a roll call. Yes or no?
I have some moderating, just point of clarity, by voting no, what happens to the church? So ultimately, the church will close. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, because they cannot meet the parking requirement.
Are you wanting me to vote?
Yeah. The motion was to approve the amendment to allow 17 less.
The problem is, for Mr. Franklin, is concerned about a current tenant. But the problem is you don't know who the next tenant's gonna be. If they're not there, or the church just goes away or finds, they have enough money and they buy their own building, you don't know who the next tenant's gonna be. But you still have the reduction.
Right.
That to me is part of the problem here.
Right.
You know who the current tenant is, but you can't tie the reduction to them, or as you know, Mr. Franklin, so I understand you still want it.
Can't tie straight to the tenant?
No.
It goes to the.
It goes to the shopping center in this case. The reduction goes into the shopping center.
All right, in good faith, I cannot vote to close the church.
So you're voting for it, in favor.
No.
Then,
My church started in a facility like that, and now we're in the old Boeing building in Corinth, taking over the starting point. So I'm voting
For, so, okay. Yes, no, yes,
Voting no.
no? No. Okay. So that motion failed,
the ordinance fails.
the ordinance failed, 3 to 2,
And the zoning is denied.
and the zoning is denied.
Thank you, Mayor.
3 to,
2-3,
oh, okay, 2, 3,
fail.
failed. that clear as mud?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sorry, Mr.
Where do-
Zimmerman, but we have observations. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Item 17, conduct a public hearing and consider approval of ordinance number 22-021 of the city of Red Oak, Texas, amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance and map of the city of Red Oak, Texas, and changing commercial district 1, C1, to plan development 40, PD 40, set forth amended of a minimum of 17 spaces. Is that not what we just did?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
16 was Main Street Plaza, 17 is the quick change oil speed.
yeah,
Different properties.
but they also have 17 spots
Yeah,
too?
they have
Okay.
the exact same issue.
All right.
Because of the taking issue.
right. Set forth a minimum of 17 parking spaces for use within said planned development for property generally located in lot 32B, block B, on approximately 0.5113 acres situated in the J. Spoon Survey Abstract 1014 in the city of Red Oak, Ellis County, Texas, described in Exhibit A, which is attached hereto and incorporated herein, providing for plan development conditions, development plan, signage plan, and site plan, as provided in Exhibit A, or B through D, which are attached hereto and incorporated herein, providing a severability clause and providing an effective date. Case ZC 22-18 requested by Ron Stillwell. So this is the Speedy Bee loop center on Roseville Road.
Right. Okay. Right. And I'll start, and again, Emma will be able to answer those questions that I can. So this is a property that was impacted by the TxDOT Oakville Road widening. The issue with this one, and we've had issues with TxDOT right away in the past, but it would be for a certain thing. One issue, they don't have enough landscaping, but they still have enough parking, or vice versa. This one, you have nothing. You don't have any landscaping, you don't have the parking, and the building itself will be set back 1 foot from the property line and 11 feet from the back of curb. So you're going to have, safety concerns, people coming in and out, the visibility, being able to come in and out of those driveways. They have been operating in there without a CO. We've not shut them down yet, but they are aware that they had to come in and go through this process. What they have been doing is a parking agreement with the property to the north of them, but that's just been kind of a month thing. It's not anything long-term. And that property has changed hands, so we don't have anything long-term from them. P&Z has recommended, okay, we will do something temporary for you. If you're able to come in by the end of the year and get a long-term parking agreement with that property, then we think we'll be okay with it. I don't see how we can approve anything without something in our hands. Number one, we can't approve something based on maybe you'll get something someday. We're not gonna have any landscaping. The facility is more than likely been 100% damaged from the TxDOT taking. So the property owner has probably gotten 100% payment and been able to keep his building. The tenant was unaware of the situation with the taking and the new setback lines and so forth whenever they actually rented the facility. So at this point, I know we've tried to work with some of those taking properties in the past, but this one, we can't check any box. I mean, there's no parking, there's no landscaping, you're a foot away from the property line, in an older building facility, and I would recommend that we deny it. I just don't see how we can just throw away all our regulations for it, and we can work with people if they're missing 2 trees or something. But in order to say we're just gonna throw out all of our regulations, that's a whole different book. So staff is recommending, again, to deny this one. Emma, did I miss anything?
Yeah. Very good. So, again, this is a public hearing. We'll open the public hearing at 10:05. Is there anyone online to speak on this item? Mr. Stillwell?
Yes, thank you. At this point in time, I don't think I can add anything except for the fact that we will not be able to get long-term parking. From what I understand, the new owner of the property to the north of us, who is giving us a month-to-month lease, actually wants to put a church on that property. And he's going to have to get and use all the parking possible for that church. And so I don't see any way possible where we're going to have any long-term parking.
Mr. Stillwell, for the record, could you give your address?
Yeah, my address is 5575 DTC Parkway, Denver, Colorado, 80111.
Okay, thank you, sir. Are you representing who?
The tenant, the owner?
We are the tenant. I'm with Full Speed Automotive and Speedy Oil Change. And we own a number of sites throughout the entire Dallas-Fort Worth area. And we happen to have purchased this business, not the land and the building, but we purchased this building, the business, several months back. When we applied for the CO, we learned about the Department of Transportation widening project and learned that we were going to have a parking problem. So we're at this point at your mercy. And if we get denied, then, we're going to have to go back to the landlord and unwind this whole thing.
Sure. All right, thank you, sir. I'll entertain the motion at 10:08 to close this public hearing. So moved. By Councilman Franklin. By Councilman Smith. Those in favor? Franklin, aye.
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 Thanks for that.
All right, so that closes 5-0. All right, any other questions, council?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, on my list, no more donut shops, no more, taco places, no more churches. This one has the parking. They do have parking.
We had an ability to eliminate one, and you voted in for it.
That was already there.
Oh, okay.
So I think, back to my statement before in the prior item, our parking requirements are set for a reason. We have parking requirements to be sure business can operate effectively and get in and out correctly. So if there's no chance or hope or actual parking available for this, I don't think an adjustment to the parking regulations.
You're saying it's 11 feet from the curb?
Mm-hmm.
Any car with a blowout is going through the building. Nothing there.
It's not a good
Or
configuration, for sure.
or they're into the actual area inside the house.
Really not 11 foot, not even a car.
Right. There's places for that, but not on roadways that are 40, 45, 50 miles an hour.
3 lanes?
Yeah. If you're in an old downtown area where you have the lower speed limits, then it makes more sense. But with a road this busy and that fast, it's very scary.
To quote someone else, it's an unfortunate situation.
Right.
All right, since our council doesn't like negative motions. So I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 22-021.
I'll move.
Councilman Goodwin, second by Councilman Councilman Drake. All right, so to make it clear, you're voting yes to allow that to happen, no to deny that. Spot change or parking change.
Frankly, no. Let's put no.
Why do we have such a hard time on the last one? Everybody understood this one.
That's about my salvation.
Let's go over that.
All right, that motion failed 0-5.
Is there a date for all this to happen? Being new here, for the Texas Builders Road?
Yeah, I believe that section starts in 4,
Yeah.
I believe.
I think it's 2024.
They stay open for another,
No, because they don't have a CO.
you can't give them a date, they can't apply and say, I need to do this work. It's under park.
Yeah, it doesn't have the park. Because Texas already done the taking. They've already taken the right of way, which took up all the parking.
And pay them for it.
And paid for it. Well, didn't pay the speed.
They don't have a license to use that which has been taken.
Right.
They'd have to get a license, that's that, and that's not gonna happen.
So, I mean, they bring up that good point. I mean, could they actually physically get that? If TxDOT said, yeah, you can, until we actually condemn it or whatever, then could we give them a temporary?
Well, you still don't have the parking. Even if they did get
But they don't have that church.
They don't have any long term. You don't own it anymore. That's the problem.
Right.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Stillwell.
Thank you. Yeah, we'd prefer that we just call it a day now, because we would be put in a situation where we'd have to spend money to upgrade the store and fix the store for a short-term period of time. And I'm not sure we'd want to do that.
All right.
Understood. Glad we could give you some finality.
Thank you all.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Item 18, appointments, reappointments, resignations for boards and commissions. Consider approval of the following boards and commissions. We have Parks, reappointment of Jenny Lindsay and Maria Dowdy.
We got some problems, so.
You better recuse yourself.
Yes, that's right. For a 2-year term from June of 2022 through June of 2024. And P&Z zoning commission, reappointment of Leroy Kleiss and James McLean as regular members for a 2-year term. An appointment of Karen Stanfield as a regular member for a 2-year term from June 2022 to June 2024. And appointment of Kevin Haley as an alternate member for a 2-year term, June 2022 through June 2024. So there's supposed to be a resignation.
No, he just didn't revote.
Then reapply.
Well, yeah, so, well, actually, two didn't reapply.
Campbell and
Right.
who was the second?
Lance Brooks.
Lance Brooks, okay. So I entertain those, approval of those recommendations. So,
Before we start, we go into this.
okay. Councilman Franklin, second, please. Second. Councilman Drake, yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want to make sure staff didn't have any issues with the standard question. I've seen the application here, and everything's out of order.
Sure.
So, before you call for a motion.
Sorry. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, aye. That passes 5-0.
Thank you to all the volunteers here. That's awesome. Anybody on EDC? Maybe think about this.
Chief?
Good evening, Mayor and Council again. I just wanted to bring to your attention, last year during the budget, we asked for money to do some updates and remodels of both fire stations. We're completing that, hoping to have that done hopefully by the end of next week. So if you get a chance to stop by, take a look at what we've done. Station one was built in 2003, so that the use of everyday firefighters in and out of there every day, obviously we need to do some updates with cabinetries and flooring, things of that nature. We did the showers. So we've got those stations looking good. It should last us for several more years. Also, just wanted to caution everybody, as you know, it's a little warm outside, triple digit heat, so please stay hydrated. We're starting to see an increase in calls for heat-related emergencies as well as grass fires in Lincoln County. Tomorrow has on their commissioner's agenda to discuss potentially a burn ban. So just caution everybody out there that may be burning brush or things of that nature with the high winds and the dryness that we're having, the lack of rain and the heat. So I don't have anything further unless council has any questions about my team. Too much sun.
Thank you, sir, very much. Chief Wolf.
Mayor, council, I don't have a whole lot. As you saw from the introduction of the new sergeants, we've had a lot of movement inside the police department with regards to promotions, after the departure of a couple of people from the department. I have one officer who has tendered his resignation to move on to another department. Excuse me. But it looks like we're gonna have a pretty quick fill for that position with a reserve officer that we have on staff, be able to roll him back into a full-time position. We have the two probationary officers that are in the academy right now. They're due to come out mid-August, and then they'll go into the 24-week training program. We have testing scheduled, the remainder of this week and next week for new candidates. We've changed the way that we do our testing. We're offering more test dates. That's being facilitated by the professional standards lieutenant, which is keeping him pretty busy with the testing and the actual background investigations, and hopefully, we'll be able to pull a couple of additional candidates to fill our remaining vacancies. We still currently have 6, if we're able to bring that one reserve officer on full-time. So working diligently to get those positions filled, and I'd be happy to answer any questions about the monthly report if you have any.
Officer leave is back.
I think there were a couple of reasons, but mostly salary.
Okay.
6 vacancies, any leadership positions are all?
They're all officer level positions. One detective's position, which is equivalent to a patrol officer, and then 4 patrol officers and 1 marshal's position, but we're rolling the marshal's position into a new title within the organization, and he's basically gonna be assigned to CID as a warrant officer for the court.
Okay. Chief, are there any, salary-wise, were we close to what he's leaving for, or there's anything to be done to retain him?
I'm not sure where he's falling into, if he's being brought in on a lateral entry program or not. He wasn't really open to discuss any of that. But he's been, without saying it any other way, he's chasing money.
Okay.
So, I don't know how close we were or weren't on that particular officer.
And just to let you all know, and I know Amanda may discuss it too during the HR bonus, but we are looking to bring y'all forward a salary study, probably next month for all those positions like we had discussed, back in April. So there's gonna be some big numbers, so be ready, but we are looking at that because we are way off on the mark.
Any questions, Councilman?
Beasley.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. First first, I would like to invite you all to come and join us on Saturday, July 2nd, for the annual Red Oak White and Blue event. It'll be held from 7 to 10 p.m. at the Oaks Church. We will have DJ, bounce houses, mechanical rides, face paintings, food vendors, and of course, fireworks. So we hope that you guys can come out and join us for that. Stop by the Red Oak booth, say hi, grab a free glow stick or a free flag to wave around. Second, I wanted to share that Ms. Coleman, our tourism admin, applied for and was awarded a scholarship to attend the annual International Festivals and Events Association Conference being held this September in McAllen. This is a great educational and networking opportunity for her, and I've been before, so I'm really excited for her to be able to go, and that she was able to be awarded that scholarship to kind of help offset the cost of that conference. So that is all I have for you guys. I will take any questions you may have on the monthly report.
Thank you. Are you doing?
I don't have one. Emma, do we have anything, P&Z side of things going on?
Have the number of permits slowed down a little bit? Do you know that?
No. Permits are still moving. Actually, some of the.
I didn't know because the interest rate would slow things down because people can't afford them.
It will eventually, but it hasn't really hit yet. Okay. You know, some of the homes, that were going for $400, $450 are now going for $500 to $650 for the same set of building plans.
The conventional wisdom is if rates have a big shock, it'll be about 6 to 8 months for the market to come. That's the result. Like a farm reputation, so. Yeah. The acceleration has slowed down, but the home prices are still accelerating.
All right, good enough. Issues or something?
No.
Ms. Platt?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just a couple of things to add to the report. We did receive our collections in June of sales tax, and those are increased again. They're 11.33% increase over the same month of last year, with a 15.67% increase year to date over last year. How much was that? 15.67. Also, next to you should be a bound copy of the audit report. That was what was brought to you last month. And now a bound copy of the final report that will be posted to our bondholders and online as well. Then one other thing I was going to bring out was that we did close on our bonds, the IDC revenue refunding bonds on May 31st. And so that all went well. Happy to answer any questions.
Right.
Okay.
The rate?
I believe it was a little over 4%.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. One of these days I'll get your last name. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
I got it.
Yeah, just a quick update, like Mr. Fuller mentioned on, the salary survey. We have began our compensation study for the year. We've been working diligently for the last couple of months, compiling all that information so that we can have something to present to you guys, hopefully next meeting. So we are taking a look at every position in the city in regards to salary. On May 26th, we held an employee appreciation luncheon. For all city employees, we provided lunch, dessert, and a very entertaining game of kickball. You may have seen the pictures on social media. But I just want to thank you all for allowing us all the opportunity to get together and fellowship and have that time with different departments. And I would say it was a great event. A lot of people showed up, and it was a lot of fun. And I also want to thank our planning committee that took the time to get everything together, and the vendors,
and also our Parks Department on helping us make everything happen, so.
Mr. Bedford.
Mayor, council, in addition to just normal desktops that we've installed this month, we did replace the server for the court department. And we finally made an offer on a person for my IT specialist position, and they'll start 2 weeks from today. So, very happy. That'd be great. I'm also doing the report tonight for Live Oak, for the update for Live Oak. They have started the roof work at Live Oak finally. You go over there today or anytime this week, you can see it's a bunch of busy bees over there at that building finally. So I think we had a few change orders that we're waiting for approval. Those are done and they're back to work. So, right now they're running air conditioning through the building. They're putting in new piping for all the existing units. So a lot of construction over there. Most of the studs are done. 95% of the stud work is done. They're starting the sheet rocking on one side of that. I guess once they finish with any kind of insulation or the piping for the electrical and network, then they'll start the other side. Exterior concrete has started. They've got the kiosk in its shell. They're finishing up on that. It's not live yet. That'll be a while. And the biggest thing is there's no material delays right now. So everything's kind of on schedule, at least for stuff showing up in the building.
Well, the one material delay that we do have, I think Jonathan already, sent y'all out on the exteriors.
Yeah.
Forget all that. There was some confusion between the architect and the contractors and the, building management. So it was not 60 days for that particular one, it's 60 days for any of them. So we're back to, we'll just leave the one that's been approved, because it's gonna be the same amount of time either way.
Oh, no one said they liked the alternative better.
I think a couple did, but.
That was the stone issue.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You have any questions about either one of them, mine or Live Oak?
Mr. Ragsdale, are you online? You're muted, Logan.
Sorry about that. Okay.
Dr.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just wanted to report that, highlight that with 1 full month open, the library has checked out over 2,079 items. We also had 1,352 visitors. So definitely it helped to really go back to our regular hours and everything. With only 4 months left in the fiscal year, we've already easily surpassed last year's numbers year to date. So I'm excited that we're finally open and climbing numbers. We started our summer reading club program in May or 1st of June, and the numbers are just skyrocketing. People are excited about having live programs. Every program that we have on Thursday nights so far have been highly successful. So if you need a schedule, just people ask. The full schedule of all the programs are online at the city website, also Facebook events, and they can subscribe, of course, to the city website to get emails and text messages. Unless you have any questions, that's the only thing that I was going to highlight tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Kelly.
Good evening again. I'd like to start out by saying that I got to work with the library on Thursday night in an event in Watkins Park. Enchanted Family Night was a big hit. We had about 200 people show up. We had magician, balloon artistry, and then we showed the movie Encanto, and so everything went really nice, and it was a well-attended event. Saturday, we had the Take a Kid Fishing event where the Texas Parks and Wildlife added 500 12-inch plus catfish to the pond, and we partnered with our friends over at the Cajun restaurants, And, we were able to give away, 75 fishing poles, 6 tackle boxes, and had over 100 attendants to that event on Saturday. So it was very well attended, and, we're looking forward to next year's event with that, and we'll see if we can make it bigger and better. Currently, we are looking for 2 more, park board commissioners. So if any council has anyone that they would like to recommend for that position, I really would, love to get a full board, so that way we can move forward with, a full commission. Also wanted to say thank you to HR and the team that put together for the employee event. It was a really, really nice event. I was privileged to be on the, Public Works kickball team, and we barely lost this year to the fire department, and we will win next year. We're gonna seek revenge, so we're gonna get the win next year. Any questions on anything?
Mr. Kelly, I did have a question. When we have these tournaments, do we update the local restaurants and establishments what's coming so they can be prepared for it?
We've actually done a couple of things, working with the Chamber of Commerce on the tournament that's coming in 2 weeks, which is a World Series tournament. Looks like we're gonna have one on the 6th, as well, the week of the 6th, so we'll have 2 tournaments. Working with the Chamber of Commerce to let them know, to get with all the folks to help us out, and also to advertise on site some of our restaurants, highlight the areas where, so people who are looking for something, they can just go up and pull a map. We did do basically went around to, about 15 different restaurants in the city where they give us the coupons or some sort of discount code that we put into a hanger, and we were allowing folks to take those, like Chick-fil-A gave us 50 kids, free kids meals, kind of things, and we dropped those in there, and that was very well received, and so we will work again with Chamber to see how we can work together to get that out to the restaurants, for sure.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Ms. Williams.
Mayor and Council, I actually don't have very much to add to my report, but I do want to thank Council for the approval when we allocated that asphalt hot box trailer. So that's enabled us to facilitate. We just recently did a pretty large, in this case it's asphalt over concrete, but to repair the concrete that's at Ryan and Reeves. So the size of that repair was, but we're able to do it in-house because we have the trailer. So just want to let you know that we're putting, and certainly going to put it to good use with all the work that we're going to be doing before in front of the micro surfacing, is all of, rebuilding shoulders, scabbing in areas that need to be placed. So it's going to make our job, provide the ability for us to be able to facilitate it. So our only, it's going to take us about 3 months because we have 3 guys in the streets, and we're going to be doing the same thing on the stormwater side for the Beckley Pikes area. For the next, for the reconstruction side, we have to do a lot of stormwater overpipe replacement. So the stormwater crew, those 3 guys will be tied up for the next 3 months there, and then our 3 guys will be tied up preparing for the microsurfacing. So good to have the equipment to be able to facilitate that. Hopefully we'll get some more manpower in here so we can get that a little faster and move on to the next. That's all I have to report. Any questions? Yes.
Thank you. So, Mr. Fuller, I guess, how we are on budgeting, stuff like that, and do we have dates set for our budget workshops that we can at least pass on to council?
So I think Gloria and Jonathan were working on dates, trying to get those.
Or maybe sending something out.
So just watch your email.
Yeah.
So is the plan still to have off-site?
Yeah, we have the initial one offsite typically, and then if there's a second one, we usually have that.
Okay. And then, no comprehensive.
Yeah, so what we'll be doing on the comprehensive plan, I know getting dates, and this will be for not the entire comprehensive plan committee, but for those primary stakeholders, mayor, the presidents of the different boards, and so forth, to sit down and look at the final product, make sure if there's any changes that are needed. I know one thing that Kyle and I have talked about is that, and I don't know what state, there are different regulatory agencies that provide recommendations for how many basketball courts per population, how much this, how much that. I know that has recently changed, so he's working to try to get those new changes added into the parks plan as well. So that'll be coming up probably in the next week or two. We'll have that one. Then assuming nobody has any drastic changes for that, we'll probably be back with the final P and Z and council and parks board within the next month.
Let me say something. Al dropped 2,600 points last day. The 900 today. Two-year bond has gone from 0.17 to 0.67 just a few months. 30-year home loans gone from just under 3% to over 6.13%. The stock market is the leading indicator for recession. Right now, we're in a bear market at all 3 or 4 major indexes. This thing is really taking off the downside. Interest rates are exploding. So that's something we need to think about in our future plan. Probably got some pretty good downside. It needs to be a wet rag or a bucket of water, but that's the fact.
Well, I think it's still.
Yeah, but the stock market leads it 6 months per year.
What is it on stock?
It is, particularly when you have inflation rates.
Yeah, the inflation thing is anything, because we have materials we buy, that is inflation.
Well, I'll quote our Mr. President. Buy an electric car and you can get across the country on a 1 tank of gas.
Well, we'll get the electric cars in our budget to convert our fleet over, go from there, I guess.
Scott, when you, plan to do the compensation study?
Compensation study is underway now, it's almost finished.
Okay.
So next month, I'll probably bring Amanda and Jonathan and I'll report to you all where we're at, be looking at for the rest of the city.
Council, any other questions? And, so we do have the one action item that we need to take out of executive session.
I don't think you need to.
Okay, I guess we don't. So I'll entertain the motion at, 10:38 to adjourn. That's Councilman Drake. And that's Councilman Smith. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye.